All right, everybody. We're just waiting on Socke. We've got Idra ready to go, and there's Socke. He is saying he is ready. Greetsdorf's going to hit the yellow button of destiny. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be match number 1, alternate attack Socke from Germany versus Evil Genius's Idra. I am so excited for both these players equally.
As we do have a ZVP on Metalopolis coming up. And I am crossing my fingers that it's not crossed.
Come on, Destiny.
Not close position, actually. Let's go.
Come on, baby.
Let's go.
Come on, baby. No
Let's
close,
go.
no close positions.
Loud noises and yelling.
Don't do it.
Now my voice doesn't die.
Don't scream.
It doesn't kill people.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a screen of Evil Genius's Idra in the blue trunks, as Total Biscuit would say, spawning at the 9 o'clock position. And in the 6 o'clock position, we do have the red Protoss from Germany, alternate attacks very own Socke. No close positions in the only non-mirror matchup. Thank you, Blizzard! From the bottom of my heart. So I know, a lot of you are like, all right, already, it's not close position, stop howling about it. But it's actually a big deal. It's pretty bad on Metalopolis for Zerg, but we do not have that excuse. Now, Greg is having his excuses limited here, so it's going to be a little bit problematic for which he'll fall back on if he loses this game. Teasing aside, though, he's a great player.
Yeah, and they have close air distances. Now, tell me a little bit about ZVP and close air distances. Do they, in fact, take that into an account? I know Zerg likes to, or have been dropping quite a bit. Idra has been dropping in a lot of different games for ZVP. One comes to mind is in his recent MLG. He was dropping like crazy. Is that going to be a huge factor in this ZVP for these close air positions?
It can be. I know that Greg actually really likes Hydra drops against any kind of Stargate opening, but because this is Metalopolis and we actually do have the first gateway going down for Socke at the top of the ramp, typically speaking, that's only good against Stargate after a Forge First fast expansion. And people don't like that in Metalopolis because of how wide open the natural is. It's very much so difficult for cannons to kind of create a full coverage for the Nexus just because roaches can outrange the coverage, and if they can hit the Nexus, then that kind of defeats the purpose of the SEC defenses. So we do have Socke going with that gateway. That can branch off in anything. That can still be the Stargate play. Whoop. A little bit of a disruptive pylon going down at the natural spot, but that's totally fine because Idra is going pool first and was planning on that. With that Stargate play, even after the 3-gate expand or just as a 1-base opening, it can still come into effect. Yes, you can Hydra drop from there, but I don't think that'll necessarily be the case. I mean, we just saw Idra play against OGS MC, actually, in the DreamHack Invitational. He had a fantastic game on Metalopolis, and he played it pretty straight up, just Hydra Roach.
Yeah, and so I'm probably expecting we could see a second assimilator. Looks like it's about to be in queue. Socke probably going to be going a 3-gateway expand. That's one of the more standard type of builds for Metalopolis. Yeah. But we can see Idra able to get his hatchery down. Very crucially, I think the pylon was denied or canceled back there. It was canceled,
yeah.
And he's going to be able to get down in pretty nice time. He doesn't have to wait for these Zerglings to break down the pylon.
Yes, and we had a slightly curious number of Chrono Boost kind of saved up, but that too can actually be kind of considered typical. We do have a Sentry and Warp Gate in production. Again, very typical of fast expansion type of builds. A lot of 3-gate stuff comes off of that. If any kind of pressure was going to happen, usually it's a Stalker. And actually, as I say that, we do have the Observer being canceled and the Stalkers coming out. Now, this could also be responsive to the fact that he did see the Idra expanded gasless. I mean, we do have the metabolic speed upgrade just now going down, but in the duration between that upgrade's completion and the Protoss in their existence, I suppose, the Stalker kind of reigns supreme. It's able to run down these Zerglings, and we do see that happening here. One Zergling taking a hit and a stroke from that Zealot, and we'll go ahead and go to Zergling Heaven. And now Socke's just going to push out, and this is really safe. Again, that Stalker can outrun Zerglings. It's pretty strong against low numbers of Zerglings, and right now it's just going to deny information for Idra.
Yeah, and Idra, without that metabolic boost, he's not going to have too much map control as these Zerglings aren't too effective against this one Stalker. The Stalker is quite fast, but as soon as he gets that, I think the metabolic boost will give him the ability to actually see what's going on. He did see that there's 2 simulators going down. So he knows he has to be a little bit careful. Roachwarren is going up for Idra.
And look at this. Idra, if you want to switch to his vision real quick, gathering that fantastic information, sees the double gateways, Does not see a third gateway. He does already have vision of the third
and he
gateway.
sees sentries, too. That's
and he
big.
sees sentries. So that information is really valuable. That usually paints the picture of, okay, a fast expansion. And here we go. Idra's going to confirm that. Seeing the Nexus now. It's interesting working with Idra on ZVP. I know, hold that thought. A little bit of an altercation, but that actually fades away to nothing after one Zergling dies. There's a lot of play going on revolving around canceling the Nexus. Now, I have not seen this from Socke, and if you actually look in his base, there it is. There's 2 more gateways going down, and that is fast. That is really, really fast, and actually Idra threw down his third hatchery, so we might be in danger of a timing coming in here. If this Nexus gets canceled in just a few moments, and then that extra money goes into the gateways, Idra could be in for a world of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need the money until these 2 gateways come up, so it's going to be very advantageous for Socke to be canceling it. Well, if he cancels that, it might still be pressure. He might just be getting the delayed. Oh God, a little bit, but he might be getting a little bit of a delayed gateway and just getting ready for that the 5 warp gates. But I think he won't have enough money in this beginning phase to be actually able to spend all of that money.
Yeah, and here's something really key to look at here as well. Socke is actually hiding these zealots that he's warping in. So keep your eye on this Nexus. It's nearing completion. A lot of players will wait till the absolute last moment. And there's the cancel. Yeah. Socke is going for this timing. Greg knows it's here. He sees, Idra sees the Nexus cancel and knows what's afoot. He has canceled his third hatchery at the last moment as well. It all comes down to this. If he's able to hold off this attack, this pressure, he should be secured very well ahead. But it's a big question, ladies and gentlemen, because this pressure is hugely intense.
He's throwing down spine crawlers all over the place. Roach is trying to get out now. Stalkers are going to be able to engage on that one spine crawler. It's going to go down, but nice force fields coming out. Going to be trapping these 2 queens. That's a really huge hit to Idra. And now he's trying to get armies into here, but the force fields, the constant force fields on this ramp is really disallowing him from getting and linking up his army. This is not looking good for Idra whatsoever.
No, but we do have the spine crawlers entering the field right now, and a lot of things are in production. 28 Zerglings, 1 Roach. Again, Idra keeps having that ramp denied, but this Protoss force is being thinned out a little bit. If you look over here at the production, we do have 4 Stalkers and a Zealot making its way over here. Spine crawler at the top of the ramp. Idra has to hold this, and there's the Zerglings. This is the flurry that he needs. Force fields go down, but the ramp is still denied, and most of that production is being held back, and Idra is just going to exit the game and take the first loss. Wow. And I'll tell you what, that's something we've been seeing a lot from OGS MC, actually. He's popularized that, and it's just a huge timing. It's really hard to handle.
And it's really hard to scout it as well. You see all the units, and it looks like a fast expansion, normal fast expansion. You can't really get your Overlord in there to see the 2 additional gateways. So it's really risky for a Zerg to go and take a 3rd hatchery now, and it makes it extremely difficult because you don't know, okay, is this Protoss player playing straight up, or are they going a 5 warp gate all in on you? And Socke right there went a 5 warp gate all in. Unfortunately, Idra played directly into his hands, getting that fast hatchery, the fast 3rd. If he just stayed on 2 base, he might have had a better chance. But still, it's so hard to be able to read what your opponent is doing before it's already too late.
I mean, that build does a lot of damage to almost the metagame of PvZ and ZVP reflectively. Conversely, I suppose. What essentially happens is that you need to take that, well, you don't need to, but it's nice to take that fast 3rd hatchery against a standard fast expansion build so that your economy can still exceed that of the Protosses at an advantageous rate. I mean, obviously, that was a really fast 3rd hatch, which isn't necessarily the need in that matchup, but that was the strategy Idra took. Now, it's a bit of a dice roll because if the Protoss does do that strategy we just saw, which is add 2 more gateways, cancel the next in the last moment, then it makes it really hard for the Zerg player because they soaked up so much of their money on that 3rd hatchery. Now, Idra responded pretty dang well. He built, I think it was 4 spine crawlers, instantaneously canceled that 3rd hatch, and produced as much as he could. But what Socke did that was really, I mean, it was the winning decision for him, was to continue to force field that ramp and sever the productivity of Idra in half. What Idra needed to do was probably have a base of 2 or 3 spine crawlers to then add additional spine crawlers so that that first influx of units from Socke would be withheld at least for a moment and allow him to produce off the main as well to come down that ramp. But he wasn't able to do that.
And the most difficult thing is you have to hold the position right outside of your ramp. If you're a force field out of your ramp, it's very hard to defend against something like that. So getting the spine crawlers up, as you said, would have been a lot better, just in holding off the initial push, and then you could slowly work in your other spine crawlers and start, confettiing the Protoss army with some Zerglings and Roaches. But unfortunately, Idra played a little greedy in that, I think. He needs to...
It's hard. I agree with
hard.
you. What I said about the metagame, though, and how that kind of responds to that is that he did play greedy against that, but it's fairly standard what he did against the normal build. And the reason that style is kind of complicating ZVP right now is because even if that attack gets held off, if Socke is withheld, if he's repelled, he's not dead. It's not a true all-in. He did cut some probes. It is 5 gateways, but he's able, as long as he's able to do some damage, then it almost equals out. Because the Zerg can't be on 3 bases. They cannot. They will die, absolutely, if they're on 3 bases. But a big part of the reason why it confuses that, though, is that because the standard for both players is to expand, and the Zerg takes a second expansion. But if the Zerg takes a second expansion against this strategy that really, to scout it out, it's like a window of 5 seconds. I mean, Idra scouted out as fast as you possibly can and was still dead. So I feel for Idra. It's tough. But at the same time, Socke implemented a strategy that there's a bit of a dice roll there. If he would be behind if it doesn't work, and he executed to perfection, was able to take the win against one of the best players on all the planet. So congrats to Socke. He will be up 1-0 in this best of 3, and will now be going up against Idra on Crevasse after the short break. And we're ready. There's the countdown. So game number 2 of Evil Geniuses Idra versus Alternate Attacks Socke. The map is Crevasse in this best of 3 for Division number 5, and this is the kickoff series. We've been talking a little bit about that last build. It's really tough. Our minds are still kind of reeling about how difficult that is. I mean, kudos to Socke, though. He's playing to win. This is a big league, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I had the luxury of reading MC's tweet after his final in the DreamHack Invitational. A lot of foreigners in particular were giving him a tough time, saying, we noticed that you cheesed for your 3 wins in that grand final. That's pretty bad. And he actually tweeted saying, listen, it's a $15,000 grand final. I'm playing to win. And I think the same kind of application can be put here with Socke. I mean, he definitely wants to win, and that's what he's actually playing to do. So who cares how he does it?
Yeah, and we're going to see Socke. I mean, this is a much bigger map. He's going to have to change up a little bit because I don't think he can do the same style. But he's going to have a lot of ambiguity. I do have to say that.
Yeah.
He's going to have the ability to wall off his front and either expand or tech, and it's really hard for Idra to find out if he doesn't have good Overlord positioning.
Well, he will. I mean, if you look at the layout, actually, Idra's got the luxury of scouting him out first here with his Overlord.
Yeah, it's going to be very advantageous. So he's going to probably park his Overlord just over here, and what he's going to be doing, just going to check to see if the Nexus gets built or not, and if probes start mining. And that'll be a key, just assessing the range of Idra.
Yeah, Idra was saying that one of the strong builds in the pregame discussion for Protoss is just even to 1-gate expand on this map, because there's that double gas at that natural, which is accessible even through the main. It's really hard. Actually, Protoss is able to defend that ramp with very minimal effort and then go ahead. And does Idra get the hatch down? He does not. The probe intercepts, and that's got to be a little bit disappointing. Idra's going to go ahead and throw down the spawning pool right away. He actually saved up enough money to make the hatchery right away, but the probe, oops, got to be careful, and there's the pylon. Actually, it's going to die anyway, so a small victory for Idra, I must say. Killing that scouting probe means the Protoss, either has to send another probe, or they're just going to be okay with not necessarily knowing what Idra's doing right now. And I'll say, right now, at least Socke is not sending an additional probe. And a lot of times, of course, as I say that, nope, that's going to build a cybernetics core. So he will be in the dark.
Yeah, but I think it still provides him a lot of information, this pylon. It shows, hey, Idra isn't getting a hatchery just yet. So he can gauge where he's at. If he does go and, in fact, kills that pylon, then he knows, okay, a hatchery is at this time. I still know where Idra can be at. and he has to defend. Right now, Idra can do one base all-ins, but I'm not sure Socke really is going to prepare for that, since Idra is kind of typecasted as this macro player.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, everything here is shaping up that Greg is, or Idra, excuse me, you have to forgive me, I know him fairly well, is going to opt for this fast expansion build, and it looks like that is exactly what he's going to do. This money's hovering around 300 minerals. He is tearing down that pylon for that expansion spot. But part of the strength of being a player known so well for your straight-up play is throwing in a cheese or two, and Idra has been known to do that, 6 pulling MC in again, just that last DreamHack invitation. We do have a scouting probe. Does it make it up? And if it makes it in, it'll get some good information. Queen on the intercept wants to deny, and she does. And that's actually kind of a big deal. We do have metabolic speed upgrade going, but curiously enough, Idra, is still mining gas off that geyser. And typically, Zergs will pull their drones off that gas for a little while. So this kind of tells me some kind of fast tech, or perhaps it's just a different variation of the standard play. I'm not quite sure. I don't pretend to know everything about Zerg, but we do have Socke, again, opting for that one-gate expand, just as Idra said. Very powerful on this map, and you can see why. The ramp is covered down pretty well.
And do keep in mind, he went the early 2 assimilators. That's to get the sentries out. Sentries are really powerful when you're one-gate expanding on this map. So you can force field this ramp and be super safe against anything. And if you need some stalkers or need some DPS units, you can just easily warp them in as warp gates come out in a nice time. We can see a 5-minute, 45-second timing. Very standard timing. And back in Idra's base, he's just
very fast layer.
Yeah,
very fast layer, actually. Typically, this is a lot more delayed, especially if you see a fast expansion go down from the Protoss player, and he did. His Overlord spotted that. Now, problematic for him is that the Stargate is going down for Socke immediately, and this is a really strong opening for Socke. I imagine that Idra's going to go for perhaps some kind of fast Stargate play, maybe actually Hydras. He might be predicting it. We'll go ahead and have to wait here a second. I would normally say Roach with like tunneling claws, but there is no Roach Warren down just yet.
And
so I'm not
den,
seeing that.
just as you said.
Yep, there it is.
So the Hydra Den's going to be able to defend against any sort of Stargate tech.
And
I would assume Phoenixes. No, Void Rays actually.
Drop Void instantly. Well, Void Ray then Phoenix is the standard.
Oh, yes.
And what that is trying to do is cancel out the third, as creep shouldn't be there just yet. You can see that Idra's so good at creep spread that actually that wouldn't necessarily be a problem if he was playing straight up. But with this fast drop, we could be seeing just that Hydra drop play that we kind of talked about earlier, saying that Socke does love to employ Stargate play. Idra knows that, and countering that with the Hydras. And this is a bit of a blind counter. He does not know about the Stargate play just yet.
And on top of that, you know, you do have the little bit of rotational problems that exist for Socke. This natural is closer to Idra's base. It will lead to a much stronger drop as the distance Idra has to traverse is much shorter. So we can see already Socke is trying to get, as you said, the Void Ray and the couple Phoenixes up.
Socke's in a world of pain, man. He's actually late scouting this tremendously. As far as he knows, Idra's on a third base. He's going to spend some time with this Overlord over here. He does see the speed. That should alarm him just a little bit. That doesn't necessarily mean that he knows about drop just yet. In fact, drop hasn't completed, so he has no idea. And the Void Ray is just kind of circumventing the outskirts of the Protoss base. But if we look at the Hydra count, it's starting to mass up.
It's going to be seen. Hydralists are being massed. Do keep in mind, Phoenixes are good against Hydras. However, you need a good amount of Phoenixes to be able to deal with these Hydras. Yeah. But I think there's too many Hydras right now for
No, 2 Phoenixes are not good against Hydras. it's like 8 Phoenixes are good against Hydras. And actually 1 Phoenix doesn't go down for free, and that's the first that Socke has seen of these Hydras in Idra. Doing a very smart decision here. He's going to go ahead and tear down these rocks while he's waiting for his... he's actually got 8 more Hydras in production, so this big timing is going to kick in. Now Socke has to make an instant read, and he might have just done that. 3 gateways are being converted to warp gates right now, and 3 more gateways, or excuse me, 2 more, are being added. So can he get out enough units in time? I don't know, because right now we're sitting on 7 sentries and only 3 stalkers, and that is not a lot of DPS. Hydras are fantastic against gateway units.
Yes, we can see 2 Phoenixes are going to be coming in here. They're going to be able to just scout around and see what's going on, but I think...
Who cares, man?
There's too much activity with these Hydralists. Also, a drop is coming on the top for Idra.
It's double.
To see.
It's going to be main and natural at the same time. And that's brilliant.
Oh, wow.
Certainly he can't win them combined, but in 2 different places. Instant pull by Socke. He knows his natural's under siege. Idra's second drop is being employed at the other main mineral line.
I love this.
And Socke doesn't know about it yet. Those Hydras are chewing apart all the probes. Idra's going to load up his Hydras and retreat. I'm not sure I like that choice as he's losing all of them. But Socke still doesn't know about his main mineral line. And these Hydras each have about 10 kills. Ladies and gentlemen, if you pull down the income tab, Socke is at sub-20 harvesters versus the 46 of Idra, and that was devastating.
Huge blunder by Socke. Now Idra has a massive advantage with economy. As long as he holds off, this is where Socke is strongest. He needs to push right now. He cannot wait, because if he goes any further, the economy of Idra is just going to take over. He's not going to be able to compete. So Idra, I don't like this. He's actually going for a drop. He knows he should just sit back and wait a little bit, because Socke has nothing else to do but to attack.
It's down to decisions. Idra can hold the top of that ramp forever with Hydras. I don't care how many Stalkers and Sentries you have. If you don't have that extra unit ability, and actually Idra's turning back around, this could be problematic for him.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's a lot of Hydras, so maybe it's not problematic absolutely at all. Maybe he has the Bulldozer Force. And here we go. We're actually going to find out. Hydras sitting on the low ground. Force fields do go up. A couple of Guardian Shields. Idra is able to go ahead and retreat with half his force, a pretty good number, actually. And most of the air units were taken out, so this actually just bought Idra some time and thinned out a lot of the energy for those sentries. Now, Idra, canceling his third Nexus, is just going to hold the top of the ramp. Like I said, Spine Crawlers are going down. Meanwhile, a drop at Socke's natural. And this could be it. Socke does make it up the ramp. Idra has to be careful. We do have a base trade situation going on right here, and he's pulling back. Hang with me, folks. It's a lot of action. Idra pulling his drones. Queen's pulling forward. Hydra's trying to do as much damage as they can. And Idra is decimating the main.
Out.
Yeah, that's a lot of Hydras.
Every single drone pulled. This is really intelligent play. Going to be able to surround all these Stalkers. The Stalkers look like they're going down, as they just do not have enough DPS. All the sentries lost their force fields. Yeah. And Socke does not look good whatsoever. I think Idra's going to take this game very decisively at this endpoint, as one Spine Crawler is up on the top ramp.
Yep, and Socke's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to pull back. He was actually pump faking towards Idra, trying to decide if he's going to go for it. And oh, sweet mercy, we got a little bit of lag. We had this in the first game, and it went away, so hopefully it's nothing.
Oh, he just leaves the game.
Well, you hear a gap in our talk, because I'm not sure if that was a disconnect or if he left. Socke was dead.
Yeah, Socke was definitely dead.
Was absolutely
Even if
dead.
it was a disconnect right there, I would have unanimously, me being the only person voting, of course, but unanimously voted that Idra won that game hands down. He was so far ahead, and I love that play. It was just the multitasking. I can't believe Socke just did not realize that those probes were under fire for so long, and ultimately just that income was wiped out, had to attack, and Idra very valiantly defended against that with minimal units. I thought he was in a little bit of trouble, but very intelligently pulling every single drone, because he knew if I kill this army, there's nothing else that the Protoss player had, because I'm killing their base with my Hydras.
Yeah.
So
it was a really good snap call.
Exactly.
Being able to say, okay, if I hold this ramp, despite how ugly this game turns out, I win. And that's why all the drones were pulled, all the queens came in to converge on that one moment. Very good and smart, or there was a very great, oh man, I can't talk. Sorry. Commentators need to do that, I hear. Craig did a good job. He made the right call at the right time. Now, there was a couple interesting calls there, though. You were saying you didn't like the drop. I was okay about it. I was wishy-washy. I liked that he pulled into the natural, did not see anything being mined, spotted the Protoss player in the middle of the map and said, oh, this is an all-in. I need my whole army. Now, the divergence there was even better. He pulls out, sees the fight going against him, and says, actually, I can go ahead and I've thinned out his army enough. I'm going to pull back and complete the all-in, make sure that Socke has no fallback plan, and go destroy his main while I hold my ramp.
I do want to say one thing. Socke didn't lose too many units with the one Hydra drop when he went back. But the biggest thing, I think, was that he burned so many force fields. Burning that many force fields, it weakens your army. And Guardian Shields. You weaken your army very drastically. And then when he went into fight, the huge battle at the end, he had no force fields to either force field the ramp that the drones were coming down from the natural, or even force field any drones whatsoever. and that really spoke a lot. Idra played that fantastically, and I think he definitely deserved the win, regardless if there was a drop or not.
Yep, Socke actually just communicated to me that he did, in fact, just leave the game. And he said he GG'd as well. So for those of you at home being like, oh no, Socke bad manner. No, he didn't. He tried to GG and he left the game. He was dead. But Socke, being the manner bearer that he is, clarified that in the channel here right now. And so that means we're going to go to game number 3 on Typhon Peaks. So, production room, do we still need a little break, or are we going to go right into it? Let's just go right into it then. Let's make the game.
Let's go.
And here it is, game number 3, Alternate Attack Socke versus Evil Genius's Idra. Winner of this game is going to go ahead and take this series in this week number 1, division number 5 opening match. And we have had a little bit of drama. Not sure if there was a disconnect in that second game, but then Socke went ahead and cleared that up and said, guys, relax, it's okay. I left that game and I said GG. So there was a good game there. Now, on Typhon Peaks, we do have Evil Genius's Idra in the blue trunks, morphing in the lower left-hand corner, and in the right-hand corner, we do have the red Protoss, Alternate Attack Socke. Retorb, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this game number 3? This is a weird map. We haven't seen this. ZBP here, how do you think it's going to take shape?
I'm not sure how Idra is going to be able to take his natural too safely. I think he might have to throw down extra spine crawlers just to defend, because 4-gate is extremely strong. We can see the natural is going to be very open, and on top of that, the ramp is open as well.
Yeah.
So we can see maybe force field play, or we can see an attack on this natural over here. It's going to be very active, and I think if Idra wants to start and get this expansion, he needs to be putting on the pressure. He needs to be the person to be the aggressor, else if he's on the defensive, he can only fight in a poor position.
Okay. I feel your vibe, my man. Now, Socke in game number in the 3rd game in a row, rather, has scouted out Idra first each time. So very successful with the scouting, and that's actually not great for Idra. This is one of the bigger maps, so Idra is probably counting on being able to put that hatchery down first. We do see that he is, in fact, starting a spawning pool just this moment, so he is planning for that probe to go ahead and create the disruption necessary for the Protoss to stop that hatchery from going down. And I like what you talked about, actually. That's really good analysis as far as the ramp being away from the hatchery. There's a lot of opportunity for early game aggression there. We do have 2 drones making their way over. This is actually kind of patented by Idra. I mean, I'm sure other people have done it, but a lot of people saw this at MLG, and I noticed a huge influx in Zerg's doing this. And look at that Protoss taking the damage of the probe. And it will escape with its life for the time being. And the drones don't want to stick around and hack away at that pylon, because actually it can just be canceled and made anew over and over again. Or they can stick to that one pylon and actually hit it for, I think, somewhere around 10 years before they actually do any paint damage on it.
Yeah, you need Zerglings out to be able to deny that, else there's no way you can get that hatchery up. Extractor, very standard play by Idra. Extractor is up. Now going to be getting the metabolic boost, or at least getting the gas to get metabolic boost.
Okay, and actually Idra drone scouting, and I really like this. He will see the second gas. Again, kind of continuing the woes of Idra. His first overlord actually scouted top left, which is the opposite direction of where Socke is, and is now sitting and thinking about his failed scout. So that's not good. Against 4-gate or early game aggression, kind of like you talked about, one of the biggest defenses a Zerg has is their information. If they're able to prepare for the build from the Protoss, they're much more apt to hold it off. And actually, Idra does not have any overlords in the area, so he needs to kind of go ahead and alleviate that concern. But he did find this hidden probe, and the probe is pinned up against the geyser. And actually, ladies and gentlemen, that is a big deal. I know a lot of people were kind of laughing at me saying that in the previous cast, but hang with me. I mean, if that probe hangs out there and is able to build a proxy pylon, that creates a pressure situation that is very difficult for the Zerg to handle.
I couldn't agree more. 4 Zerglings are going to be moving over to right outside of Socke. Now, what Idra wants to see is what the unit composition is.
Yes.
If Socke is going mass sentry, he can expect some sort of... Well, actually, there's still a huge amount of builds to expect, but if he sees the mass sentry in the beginning, he knows minerals are being built up somewhere. And he has to check, is it going to be the Nexus or additional gateways? But if it's Mass Stalker in this early stage, it makes it much harder for Socke to be able to spend all that money on gateways. We do see an additional 2 gateways going down for Socke, so it is going to be a 3 warp gate pressure in this beginning stage. I'm going to be looking if there's a 4th gate coming up for Socke.
Well, that pylon at the base of the ramp does one of two things. It either broadcasts its intention to expand, or it actually... And then you fall back and be aggressive, I guess, at the end of that point. Or you just flat out expand. Now, Idra is throwing down a Roach Warren, and this is fairly early. It's not incredibly early. It's not like one base timing by all means, but it's still fairly fast. We do have Idra making 8 more Zerglings just now, so either he respected that Stalker push, or he's kind of gearing up to go ahead and do one of his own little cheeses. Not necessarily cheese, but pressure. And we do have the lag screen again with alternate Socke. So again, everybody out there, send your positive vibes through the past, because you are watching this in the future. Come on, Socke, come back to us. Walk towards the... Nope, walk away from the light. Walk away from the Blizzard BattleNet light. So we're just kind of watching the time tick down, and this would be really unfortunate. This is, again, something that we have to handle as pro gamers. I've been in very important matches that have disconnected, and there we go. Idra does return, so we'll go right back to the game. Thank you, everyone, by the way, from the future. I appreciate your positive thoughts, sending them through the time-space rift continuum and getting us this game back in order. So we'll just go ahead and stop making jokes about that, because I don't think they're that funny anyways.
Now, what I would like from Idra is just a mass Zergling Roach all-in after seeing this Nexus. And we do see, yes, in the production tab, 5 Roaches coming out.
Socke, double gateway. Retorp, he might be trying to repeat the antics of game number one.
Yeah.
But Idra, playing the overbearing adult figure, is going to punish Socke for trying to put his hand in that cookie jar twice. If Idra is reading into this, or if he's just all-inning anyways. But here's the danger. Idra's actually walking across this map. He doesn't want these roaches too far off creep. He could catch Socke in a hard place, though, because that cancel has not occurred yet. Will it happen? It does!
Yes.
Socke is going with the cancellation, and Idra's in the middle of the map with roaches. Here they come. Some weird pings going on. Not quite sure what he's doing, and a little bit of a tap on the keyboard. But Idra has sprung the trap. Zerglings moving to the back. Roaches in the front. They do a lot of damage to this army. And Socke forcing himself to block away the roaches, but taking so much damage from the Zerglings.
Now, I like this. He is burning a ton of force fields out here. These roaches need to back up until more Zerglings get in here. But now we can see the sentry count is quite low. Huge force fields coming up. Going to be able to segment most of Idra's army. I love this play by Idra. Idra is playing this phenomenally. The more force fields you burn on his side of the map, the better it is when units come to his base. And now we can see roaches are going to be whittling down the Stalker count. Idra playing fantastically. However,
it's a really good read. He's got to be careful. His units are thinning out a little bit here. We have the next warp in. 3 Stalkers and a Zealot entering the fray. The productivity of Idra's got to maintain here. These sentries have used up all their utility. The roach count's limiting, though. These Stalkers with brilliant micro doing a lot of damage. We need these Zerglings to join up. And they're right back there. Socke,
there they are.
You might have taken
the trap again.
One force field. That's not effective. And okay.
And the sentries are going down. Sentries.
And then we both get quiet.
Roaches they just have to back up again. He just wants more Zergling reinforcements until the next time. Nice pickoff. One sentry is going down.
It's like a question of who can outproduce who, because both players are fairly all in. If you look at the income tab real quick, Idra is in the lead by 4 harvesters. That's not the biggest of deals. He is bringing in a lot more money, though, because of the separation of that harvesting, or not harvesting, I guess, but yeah, well, maybe we can use that. No, Zerglings going for the great surround.
Nice surround.
And they're on the Stalkers and sentries,
Kills
and the Roaches doing such fantastic damage to these Zealots, and it looks like Socke is fading away. This could be it. The Stalkers are gone. These Roaches are now supreme, and the Zerglings going for the surround just to capitalize on this Idra. You might have just read a Protoss player fantastically and capitalized on this.
Beautiful play. He's going to be able to get in here, and there are no units out. One sentry trying to warp in.
That's it.
But it is not going to be able to do anything.
That's it. GG. Wow.
Socke is going to be eliminated in this series. Idra's going to take it 2-1.
Whew. We gotta do like casting push-ups before, because we like stop and we're like, are you going? Am I going? Are you going? Because it was the action never stopped, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happened there. Idra and Socke both said, to hell with economy. I'm going to bring the aggression, but I got to limelight my boy right now. Actually, I want to let you limelight him, because he's on my team, so I don't want to take away from this moment.
Well, I loved Idra's play, and this is why. The biggest problem with Zergs, in my opinion, these days are they give too much position to the Protoss. Protoss force fields are probably the strongest positional advantage you can have for a direct region. But when Idra brings it over to his side of the map and forces force fields on Socke's side, it burns them, and now he doesn't have any liability, so he can back up, retain his roaches after the Zerglings die, and just keep going wave after wave of Zerglings. He doesn't have to reinforce really with the roaches. It's a very
really good point.
Clever play, and he just slowly burn the sentries, until you have no force fields whatsoever. And then that's when Protoss is most vulnerable. So his activity, his aggression, Idra's aggression, his proactivity, I should say, was what won him the game, and he played that brilliantly. I cannot stress that enough. I know I say brilliantly, and he's amazing, but this indeed was a brilliantly played game.
Yeah, I just want to kind of piggyback off a couple of those points to really drive it home with some of you, because there's a lot of education to be had, or educational value, I suppose, to be had with that matchup. And that is a couple things. Idra did not just attack move to success there. It was not that at all. You need to have those roaches firing off on the Sentry and Zealots as the top priority, and then Stalkers when they can reach them. Really important that you saw that each time Idra's units kind of faded out of the battle, he did not continue fruitlessly. He pulled back to kind of create the space between his rally and his actual attack force to shrink. And when that shrinks and Socke kind of gets overambitious, I suppose, and follows him down that path, it then creates a situation where Idra's able to reinforce faster, get the units to the matchups he needs to, and overcome Socke's force. Once those force fields were gone, once Socke's Stalker count had been minimized, the roaches became unobtainably strong and were able to overrun Socke. But even before that, I do want to talk about 1.2. I mean, not to blow this up too much, but this I'm really excited about the exchange that we had here. It was almost like a chess game. Idra kind of felt, I mean, you have to give it a read, because there was no scouting information. You saw the double gas, he saw what looked like a 3-gate expand because of the sentry count, and he said to himself, I'm going to do a Roach Ling all-in. Now, on paper, a lot of people are reading that and saying, that's not a great read. That can actually only, who cares? It's an all-in. He either wins or dies by that choice. But based upon his opponent and how that series had panned out, he knew that the all-in is okay against the 3-gate expand. It gives you a chance to win.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like it's dead against that.
It's still robust. You can still transition.
Yes, but it also counters the 5-gate Nexus cancel build. So we had just got done talking about how that build really complicates the matchup, and we're not sure how a player wins there. Idra shows us that you have to have the cojones. Am I saying that correctly? Is it cojones? Cojones. That's some other word I invented. It's Jefflish for balls in Spanish, I suppose. He had them. He did it. He executed, and here we are sitting and talking about Evil Genius's Idra winning 2-1 over Alternate Attack Socke, only one of the best Protosses in all of Europe. So congrats to Idra. A fantastic series. I really liked it. I mean, a lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, there was just 3 timings. But there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and when you have players of this level, that's what you can expect.
Indeed. So a huge congratulations to him for winning his match. We're going to be taking a short break before we go into match number 2.
That is the Evil Geniuses Pro Gamer House. We do have the shirtless Bryce Bates machine in the background. It is good to see that his whole body's not covered in atrocious hair. Now, Idra, you are the man of the hour. Nice job with the win, but I really want to walk through a lot of Zerg players. There's kind of the full spectrum of this. In that first game, we saw the ultimate cheese. I've heard you talk about this. It's ridiculous. What were your thoughts when, I thought you scouted out as fast as you possibly could. Is there any way to play standard and to hold that off?
Not if they get the force field up on the ramp, no. Because I had enough units and my spine crawler's finishing time. If I had everything engaging, I could have held it, I think. It would have been close, but I might have. But obviously there's no way to prevent from getting the force field up unless you've already committed to units. But if you do that and they're just sitting back and defending, no, it's really a coin flip build. And there's no way to scout it because you can't really know until they actually cancel the Nexus. So unless there's some little clue that I'm missing, it really just feels like a very luck-based thing.
Do you feel like part of the answer to that build is like a bigger map? Because I mean, you can't necessarily warp in units or count on warping in units just outside their base. But if he has a longer way to get to your base, wouldn't the spine crawlers come in and probably help you out?
Yeah, that would That would definitely help a lot, because that's the one thing you can't do. They can't have map control really with that. If they get aggressive, it kind of gives it away, and they don't have that many units to start with, so they can't really get down the proxy pylon unless you mess up. So the long rush distance does actually matter versus Protoss there.
Okay, so things for people to notice. I mean, if you're playing on a smaller map against a Protoss opponent as a Zerg player, you don't necessarily want to blind counter that, but you just got to know, I guess, it's possible. And every time I say that, I still feel myself doing like a sheepish little like, because like I just feel like it complicates the matchup for right now. But
it does.
It is what it is. Now you recovered from that. Game number 2 and 3. Let's go into that real quick. Game number 2, I've actually talked to you a lot. You know that he's doing Stargate play. Is that what you read? Because he did the one gateway expand. And then Stargate, I feel like you knew what he was doing the whole way.
Well, he does that a lot. We played recently in another tournament, and he beat me twice with air builds, especially fast expand air builds on Tal'Darim, which plays really similar to Crevasse with the 2 gas expansions in the back. So I thought there was a really good chance. And Crevasse, when you can go like the 1-gate expo like he did, it's just really, really good for Protoss. So I felt like I had to take a gamble to really have any chance to win, especially after he delayed my hatchery and got the first scout. So yeah, I knew there was a good chance he would go air. I hoped he would, and he did, so it worked out well for me.
I want you to, I consider myself a pretty smart player, and I feel like I knew what you were thinking, but I want you to clarify just so that the people at home can have the full knowledge on this. When you brought your Hydras for the second big drop, what was your tell? I mean, did you see the Protoss army in the middle of the map? Did you see the no probes? What were you thinking when you pulled away from his main?
I didn't know he was counterattacking. I just knew the drop wouldn't be worthwhile, because either he would have his army in his base and he would be able to defend it before I killed the Nexus, so I wouldn't get anything and I'd probably lose some overlords to his air units, or he was attacking, in which case I would need my army back at my base. So I just knew with no probes there it wasn't worth dropping.
Well, it was a really good choice. I mean, you actually made, I think, 4 really good choices in that game, then pulling back again away from the losing battle in the middle of the map, and then pulling all your drones at your main, recognizing that it is an all-in. I think that was pretty fantastic. Game number 3, did you, I mean, if he 3-gate expands, you're still committed to that aggression, right? It was a form of a 2-base all-in.
It was pretty much an all-in, yeah.
Yeah. But it nicely counters, I think, the 5-gate thing as well. You have the units to handle it.
It does, yeah. Basically, that was just... Those positions aren't very good for Zerg. He has easy access to both of the thirds that Zerg would like to take, so I wanted to all-in him and end it early. And he's been playing really aggressive versus me. The only game... We've played a lot of games recently, a lot of different tournaments. The only time he's gone for a long game was on Tal'Darim, which is... You can't really be aggressive for Zerg on there. It's just so big. So I figured there was a good chance he'd try something cheesy, and the best way for Zerg to counter Protoss cheese is with their own cheese, unless it's like really air unit based. So I just thought either he'd do a really risky expansion and go air too fast, and I could force the Nexus cancel and then just turtle up, or he would do warp gate aggression. I had seen him go fast expand into really quick warp gates before on that specific map, so I thought there was a good chance of that. And then he had just done the Nexus cancel versus me. It was really risky. It seemed like it would counter a lot of things he was likely to do. But yeah, if he just played safe, I would have been in trouble. Yeah,
I mean, it would have been a little bit more problematic, I believe. But hey, congrats! You won 2-1. It's the first week. You're out ahead of the pack, at least for now. You got any words for your fans and sponsors or anybody?
Yep. Thank everyone for cheering for me, like always, and also my team, Evil Geniuses, all our sponsors, Intel, SteelSeries, MSI Notebook, Kingston HyperX. Big thanks to them.
Well, thanks a lot for having us, Idra. I know that you've got a busy schedule. Really appreciate it, and tell Machine to get a shirt, and then you have yourself a great day.
Will do. Goodbye.